Hey, happy Wednesday. I had to look at the date. It's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach. Quick question. What do you look for when you are looking for a job? Like, what do you look for in an ideal employer? We know that when we look for jobs, we read job descriptions and employers have the requirement sections, the preferred sections, what they're looking for in an ideal candidate. But today I want to know, what do you look for in an ideal employer? And I'm going to give you 3 ideas of things you should be looking at. So let me put out my notebook and my pen and let's get started. So before I start rattling off these 3 and start talking about them in great depth, I want you to drop down in the comment section if you're watching this video on YouTube. What are the 3 things that you look for in an ideal employer? And so today is May 1st, 2024. Let's jump into it. So the first thing that I would suggest that you look for in an ideal employer. Now, keep in mind, we're not talking about salaries, right? We're not talking about salaries or job titles. I'm writing this down. We are only talking about everything over and beyond that. The things that really truly can make or break if you are ultimately satisfied, not just in your job, but with the employer, within your organization, within the community that's inside of your department or respective unit. These are 3 things that you should be looking for. The first thing you should be looking for is to, as much as you can, from an outsider's perspective, really understand if the work that your organization does, your employer, if it aligns to something that you either believe in, support, or can stand behind, right? So let's write that down. Alignment. I'm just going to categorize it as that. You need to either be able to believe in it, support it, or stand behind it. And I'm going to break those down for you. When I say believe in it, what that typically will look like is maybe before you even knew that this employer existed, you've always been at, and keep in mind, I'm talking about careers for people who want to align themselves, be working with mission-driven organizations. My conversations are not geared towards people who just want a job. My conversation is geared towards people who want to have a lot of intentionality behind their work, who really want to do work that's bigger than them. So when I say believe in it will look like it's common for you to be talking about a certain thing in your personal life, right? And I'll just give a generic example. I want to use a real example, but then I don't want to use a real example. Let's use this one. Let's say that you always in your personal life believe that children should be exposed to more opportunities in nature. They should be, it should be like a core part of school curriculum. I'm making this up, but it's a real issue on a national level. Like, children should be exposed to more opportunities in nature. Children should be going on nature walks and having talks about like safety in nature, and provided with opportunities to really explore and be outside with nature, right? Let's say you do that in your personal life, where you talk about a thing, you really believe that every child should be exposed to it. That is believe in it. So when you find an organization or organization as a whole, or maybe they have initiatives geared towards the thing where, hey, we're trying to get more children in nature, that is a sign that that is an organization that you believe in, right? You believe in their work because there are clear connection points from your personal life to your professional life. Okay. The second one, support it. So maybe what that looks like is you do more than just talk about every child should have exposure in nature, to where you maybe even have like an organization that you started on your own. It may be on like a smaller scale, but it's still an organization. Maybe once a year you take 3 youth from your community. Maybe they're your little cousins. Maybe it's just some kids in the neighborhood that you grew up with. I don't know. I'm just making up the thing. And you take them out into nature. Or like you create events where parents can, let's say it that way, where parents can bring their children out into nature. And you're out there, and maybe you all have like story time or marshmallows, so what do they call them? S'mores by the campfire. That's supported, because it's gone from it's gone from just believing in it, that children should be exposed to more nature, to now you actually have done something about the thing that you hope to see more of, where you support it. Or it can look like maybe you donate to causes or organizations that provide opportunities for children to get out into nature. That's supported. Stand behind it is, okay, I don't necessarily like talk about it in my free time. I don't donate money to the thing. Maybe you didn't even know it was a real thing. You don't donate money to the thing. You're not taking children, taking youth out into nature, or, sharing park information with them where they can go on hikes with their family. But stand behind it is, once you do learn about this organization, you're like, oh, wow, that's great work. Yeah, I love nature just in my own personal life. Or I remember when I was a child and my parents would take me on nature walks, right? Maybe you never haven't thought about it in your adult years, but you do, like, once you learn about this organization, you're like, oh yeah, that's foundational. Everyone should have the thing. So alignment is, you either believe in it, support it, or stand behind the work that the organization is doing as a whole. That's one of the things you should look for. The second thing you should look for in an ideal employer, let me write that down. And again, this is for people who are mission driven, who want to have purpose-filled career, and who see themselves as change makers. The second thing you should look for in an ideal employer are their outcomes, right? So when you shift from being a frontline worker, ideally, for the most part, the people that follow me are in very entry-level positions, case management jobs. If you're in another type of profession, you're still on very frontline. You're serving people one-on-one. All of us, at some point in your career journey, unless you are a very new graduate, and even then, many of you have had internships and practicums where you have experienced the thing. Many of us have worked in organizations where they sold you a dream, right? So you go on their website and you see the pictures of the kids, and we're going to stick with the nature and the kids for the sake of this conversation today. You see the pictures of the kids, and they are excited, and they're showing them on hikes and nature walks, and sitting around tables and having conversations with fireside chats with park rangers. And you're like, oh, wow, yeah, this is great. You may even go a little further, where you go in and you talk to a leader of the organization, and they're telling you about all of the wonderful work that they do. You're like, oh, yeah, I want to be here. This is the thing. And then you get the job, or you get the field placement or the internship placement, and then you get there, not like after the 30-day mark, where you start really connecting the dots between what you learned in training and what you're doing. And now you're having a little more exposure to the actual participants. And you realize they don't do anything they said they did. They don't do any of that, right? That was all just like fluff. That was the feel good marketing side of it. It's none of that. Whereas you thought they were taking kids out on nature walks and trail walks, and really what it is playtime outside on the playground, right? Or watching a movie, watching a video on a screen about nature and nature safety and things like that. outcomes. So outcomes are very important, a very important area that you should be looking at when you are trying to look for, when you are like creating your criteria for what will be our ideal employer for you. I always say alignment, outcomes, and then a third one is non-negotiables, right? So there are a very specific set of non-negotiables that I have for myself. And this is all birthed out of my time on the front lines as a case manager of like, I don't ever want to work in an organization again that does X, Y, Z, right? So for me, and I have one clear non-negotiable. I'm not talking about my personal non-negotiables like health insurance, remote work, whatever the thing is, salary ranges. I'm talking about my non-negotiable as far as the organization. One of the things that I took away from I only had 2 case management jobs ever in life. In that second case management job, I left that organization saying, I never want to work for another organization who does not have a diverse leadership team. And when I say diverse, I'm not talking about just people that look like me or women. I'm talking about a diverse leadership that is reflective of the people that they serve, right? So if I'm with an organization and they're saying they serve all people or historically under-resourced communities and populations, whatever the thing may be, I expect to see on their leadership team diverse people. Like, I want to see that. I want to see people from every race. I want to see people from many other cultures. I want to see people with different, ranges of abilities, whatever the thing is. I'm not an expert in the term, but I want to see a diverse leadership team. I want to be able to see a leadership team where I can then look at the participants and like, oh, wow, yeah, okay, yes. I was doing, so I was having a career coaching session the other day with one of my one-on-one coaching clients, and which that is the highest level of career coaching that I provide, right? And so it's a lot of intensive support. So she and I was doing some job searching, and one of her non-negotiables as well is that she wants to be with a macro organization that has a diverse leadership team. And so I had found this organization that was actively hiring. And I was like, let's see what leadership looks like. Because that's always important to me. The minute I go to an organization's website, I'm going to look up the pictures. And I remember that hers was the thing as well. So we scrolled there, and at the same time, the picture was there of the leadership team. And at the same time, we both like, oh, wow, they really are diverse, right? Because this organization does work around diversity in a certain type of macro setting. I'm not going to name it, right? But we saw the picture and it was truly diverse. I've never seen a picture like that. And we took almost 3 minutes looking at that picture and going from person to person. It was all different ages. You could tell that, and again, I don't know the term, but ableism wasn't a thing because there was all different people, all different races, all different ethnicities. People were in their cultural garments. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Right. And I was just like, oh my goodness, it is a thing, right? Because this organization's work is around providing more opportunities for diverse people. And they have a leadership team that reflects it. So I say that to say that the third thing you should be looking for when qualifying if this is an ideal employer for you is, does it meet your non-negotiables? So you have to get clear on what your non-negotiables are. And I always tell people to think about your past work, your past internships, your past practicums. It's always easier for people to say what they didn't like about a thing, a job, an employer, than what they did like, right? It's always easy. You all know, you don't know anything else what you didn't like. So start there. What didn't you like about past organizations? Write that out and then identify, okay, going forward, I don't want to be in another organization that doesn't have this. I don't want to be with another organization that doesn't do this. Those then become your non-negotiables. So when you are looking for a job, you use that criteria to vet if this is an ideal employer, or if it is not, then you don't need to hit apply because it doesn't match your non-negotiables. And if you hit apply, you have to understand that because you went against what you said you did not want, you most likely, and if you find yourself in a tough situation, you know that it's because you went against the non-negotiable list. So in essence, you subjected yourself to anything because anything becomes possible at that point. And so that's the difference of like what I teach my career coaching clients. Why they are not just out there randomly applying to any job. It's because we are clear about what qualifiers, and there's more, right? We're just going with these three. What qualifiers they should be checking off or really like checking against when vetting an employer. Because what I found in my own career journey, the more I moved into different macro roles, the more I moved up and up, the more alignment I got, right? The more consistent I stayed with these are the things that I'm looking for. I eliminated like the stuff I experienced in my case management days, right? Of course, this does not take into account individuals' personalities. We can't control that. You cannot control a bad supervisor. You cannot forecast having a bad supervisor. You can't. But when it comes to alignment in other areas, you can control that because that means you don't apply. That means you don't apply. That means if the job is offered, one, you shouldn't even be applying if it doesn't check your boxes. If you do apply, that means that you don't accept the job, right? So I really wanted to share those. So alignment, and I broke those down into 3 different ways that you can see if you are in alignment. We talked about outcomes and we talked about non-negotiables. And I even taught you how to identify your non-negotiables. And I just want to say again, like as a reminder, the things that I tell you all work, right? I don't get on here just to be talking. I don't do, and also let me say it from this lens also. These qualifiers for ideal employers is not only beneficial to you, but it's beneficial from the employer side because then it helps weed out, okay, we are not the person for you. Like you making that decision then makes it, it's also double-sided because it helps an employer like focus their time on who their organization may be for. Because again, my conversations are geared towards people who want to do mission-driven, purpose-driven work, who want to blend their passions into their career. So if you are clear, like, okay, these employers are not my cup of tea, that frees up more opportunity for other people who maybe don't care about the things or just want to work with the organization. So it's dual benefits in it. And I want to give the reminder that what I tell y'all really does work. I'm not on here. I'm not like, and I say this because it really truly is a thing. There's a lot of people on the internet telling me stuff just to get views and clicks. What I tell you works. If you do it, it works. Someone left a message yesterday. Today is Wednesday. Yesterday, and she said that she got a job from taking the tips that I gave her about resumes, job searching, interviewing, just on my free content. It works if you do the thing. So I want to say, and she was like, it's not my dream job. I think she said she got a supervisor of housing job. And she was coming from heavy case management background. She was like, I just want to thank you. I could look it up. But I just really want to say, like, what I'm teaching works. If you do the work, it works. And it took me 20 years to figure this stuff out. And I'm now on here sharing it with y'all to give you tips and strategies, because these are things that I wish I knew. But I had to figure it out I had to figure it out the hard way. And so, oh, she said, I took some advice from your post and fixed up my resume and how to answer interview questions. I don't have any degrees yet, but I landed my first housing supervisor job. So happy and tired of case management. So I thank you, hearts. Yeah. So I tell y'all, I don't just work with people with degrees. I work with non-degree professionals as well, because I was a non-degree professional for years. So to know that she went from case management work to a supervisory role, which I know is a significant income increase, and doesn't have a degree, I love it. My job. I planted the seed. She took it and ran with it. And then I have a bunch of other cohort alum that's working on stuff. So if you want to learn more about macro careers and how to really truly design a mission-driven career that you love, a purpose-filled career that you love, passion-filled career that you love, I encourage you to grab my e-course. It's down in the link in the bottom at macroandpaid.com. It's a great way to start to learn about what these careers look like, what types of organizations you can target, what are the salary ranges, what are some of the job titles, and all of the things. So grab the free e-course. I'll talk to you next time. Happy macro career planning. Bye.